Corporation of India, Jash Desai, and along with him, the lead UPI Product Development, National Payments Corporation of India, Devesh Upadhyay. Let's welcome both of them with a round of applause, please. Thank you. Over to you guys.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, I've been given the task of having the post-lunch session, and they're always very interesting and try to improvise. But I hope you've been having a great festival so far. And yes, UPI Lite has been launched yesterday by the Honorable Government. It's taken us 18 months to get to where we are, and I'm going to give you a part of the journey as to why we did it, what we have done, and what it can do. But because, things are not always simple, we'll start with the pop quiz. Okay? I think this one should be easy. What percentage of transactions are below 200 on UPI? Okay? And we do publish this data on our website, so it won't be something very fairly out of the new. But we tried to get this on Mentimeter, but because of the internet issues, I don't think that would have worked. So, how many for 25%? Can you raise your hands? Okay. How many for 35%? No one. Then I think, how many for 54%? Yes.
A lot of people were there in the yesterday's
You're absolutely right. 54% of transactions last month, that's around 3.2 billion transactions, are below 200 rupees. And this gives us, some extreme sense that people have made UPI a part of their day-to-day life. Okay, the next one is not going to be very easy, okay? Which is the most used functionality on the UPI platform? Is it to send money? Is it applying for an IPO? Is it to create your UPI number? Or is it balance inquiry? Okay. Let's start one by one. How many for send money? Okay. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. How many for applying for an IPO? Yes, of course, naturally, there are limited IPOs in a year. How many for creating your UPI number? All right. And how many for balance inquiry? Yes. So the right answer is balance inquiry. Contrary to your logic that UPI is actually a payment platform. But again, last month we did 6 billion transactions, financial transactions on the platform, and 7.2 billion balance inquiry hits on the platform itself. That means people have figured out a more convenient way to get their, check their balance rather than go on to the app or wait for an SMS after every transaction. They'd go on Google Pay or Phone Pay or a Bhim app. And I've seen this trend, before even going to an ATM, people do the balance inquiry on the app and then do this transaction. These two are somewhat related to why, some things we have come up on UPI Lite. So when we look at small value payments, right, it's a great segment, but there are some challenges and some data around it. 54%, all of you got it right. And it's because UPI, the acceptance is so cheap. You just need a printout of a QR on your shop that the other people who are now coming to get this, it's very easy to make payments and remove your app rather than cash. And we've all seen through COVID, through Demon and all these other instances, how the gradual shift has happened. And now it's become a thing that if you don't have a QR, the chances of your shop running are going to be very low. So again, supporting low value use cases. But, along with the solution, UPI has brought a challenge. The bank's infrastructure, which is catered to process, real-time debits, but up to a certain threshold, they've seen a surge like they've never seen before. So when we speak to banks, they have to capacitize, increase their capacity every 12 to 18 months. And it's a huge activity. Time, takes time. By the time they're done with actually doing one cycle, they have to start preparing for the next wave of growth. So scaling for banks is definitely become the next challenge. And of course, the core component over here is the bank's core banking system, which needs to be constantly amped up. Another thing which UPI has induced as a problem by itself is that users who use UPI a lot, they've been frequently, we hear frequent complaints that, oh, my passbook is getting filled up, You remember the last time you've applied for a loan or something and you had to take a printout, like 20, 30 pages of your passbook. And all these small value debits are there. Of course, 54% of these transactions. And the second challenge or the second problem statement was around the availability of the bank. So around between some peak hours, you'd frequently see this error on Google Pay. Bank servers are busy because the intensity is so high. They don't want to let you initiate that transaction because it might fail. So people then ultimately have to move back to cash, and that's not the vision which we set for UPI. So the teams at NPCI, along with the banks and the large fintechs, our problem statement came down to this, how might we make small value transactions faster and even more economical, but at the same time, you improve the user experience for the user, okay, and taking in these challenges which we've highlighted in the previous slide. That's where we conceptualized the UPI Lite infrastructure. So on the left is a typical UPI architecture, which is a four-party model, wherein there is a PSP which acquires a consumer and links their account, and on the other side there is another consumer who's onboarded and he's linking their own account. So a real transaction would go from the payer, get the details from the payee, go to the remitter bank to debit the customer, and then move to the beneficiary bank to process the credit. So over here, the core banking on both sides are getting utilized all the time. With UPI Lite, what we have introduced is an auth engine. It's like a mini core banking solution. So we are taking away the banking from the banks, and we've kept this solution at our end, which keeps a ledger of balance. Now, and the second is store value. So common library is a component in every UPI app which helps you to secure the UPI PIN. So whenever you're entering your PIN on a Google Pay or a Phone Pay, that is being securely transmitted by this common library, which is owned and patented by NPCI. Up to now, its job was only encryption, and we've enhanced its capability now to even store funds virtually. So a typical flow on UPI Lite would include you as the consumer to go on an app, commit some funds to UPI Lite. These funds, while they are debited from your bank account, they are stored by the bank in some other pool account. And we virtually mirror the funds in our auth engine, and it comes to your device. The funds are actually residing in a virtual form on your device, and hence this is a on-device wallet solution. So if you're aware, RBI in February has, in their monetary policy, has approved of an on-device wallet, which will give this kind of capability to all UPI apps to store some value, and when you're making a transaction, you take this value and go with it, and you avoid this hop to the remitter leg. So because of because of this architecture, the user now can get a functionality to see the balance on their home page. So if you have an Android app and you're using an account from, say, SBI, HDFC, PNB, Union Bank, Indian Bank, Kotak Bank, Canara Bank, and Utkarsh Small Finance Bank, you can actually use UPI Lite today itself. So the first thing you always see on the app is when you enable, you will see the balance on the home screen. And this balance, it fetches from the device itself. So there is absolutely no need for you to be going and doing a balance inquiry every time. And hence, it solves the problem for the API usage on the balance inquiry as well. So now we'll go through a typical user journey of UPI Lite and how people can go about making this payment over here. So it covers the entire onboarding journey and the transaction journey.
Ready to make transactions using the newly launched UPI Lite? Here's how to enable it. Use your passcode or fingerprint to log into your UPI app. Click on UPI Lite Enable Now banner on the home screen. Click on Enable Now after accepting terms and conditions on the disclaimer page. Enter your preferred amount. Select your bank account. and click on Enable UPI Lite. Enter your UPI PIN to proceed. Success! Your money is added and UPI Lite is now enabled. Now you can start using UPI Lite to make payments. Simply click on Send on your UPI app home screen to get started. Scan the recipient's UPI QR or enter their UPI number or UPI ID. Verify the recipient's details. Enter the amount and click on Confirm. Note, users can make transactions of up to 200 rupees at a time. Success! Your money is sent successfully to the recipient. On the transaction history page, users can identify between UPI Lite and regular UPI transactions by checking the UPI Lite icon. Start using UPI Lite now.
So while this video gives you a simple and onboarding flow, we've tried this in other forums. So by the time this video was completed, people actually onboarded UPI Lite. And that's the thing about the design ethos. You make it fast and you make it very simple for the user to use UPI Lite. We had this demo yesterday. I don't know how many of you were part of it. But one thing which we did, and we tried to take in the user perspective, is don't allow the user to select whether I want to make a Lite transaction. Your journey is very simple, and we call this as smart switching. When you scan a QR or enter a UPI ID, typically when you enter the amount, if it can be serviced by Lite, it will automatically take the funds from Lite. So no need for you to switch it. But if the amount is more than 200 rupees, it goes from the normal route which debits the fund from your bank account. So very seamless to the user. These transactions are not seen in your passbook as well. You can view it on the app, and thereby the name Lite, which makes the user journey light as well. And at the same time, it takes away the entire infrastructure load on the banks and making the experience light for them. And with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Devesh. He's going to take us through the further part of it, more in terms of technical developments and what is the impact we see on UPI Lite. Over to you, Devesh.
Yeah. So till now, I hope that you must have understand that what UPI Lite is. So now we are going to understand that who are the people who will be getting really impacted by the solution. So we at the NPCI, we create the solution for three major stakeholders. First off is the users, the second is the merchant, and third is the banks. So let us understand that how this solution is going to be helpful for the end users. So let us take an example that any one of us is standing on a kirana shop and we purchase a good of rupees 50. Now we want to make a payment, but we see that a lot of people are around us and I need to enter my UPI pin over there. So you can make a payment without entering the payment. You just, as just showed the user journey, you just enter the amount, click the amount to be paid, and the amount will be debited without entering the UPI pin. One of the biggest benefit which you can get from without entering the UPI pin, you are making the payment. The second is that many Lite reduces the transaction hops. So if your user bank is not available, for example, SBI or HDFC is the remitter bank in which you have your own bank account and it is not available at that time, no need to worry that your bank is not available and you cannot make a payment over there. The money is stored on your device in your wallet and you can make a seamless payment when the amount is less than 200. The second is for the improved success rate. So UPI Lite solution will reduce the TD of the banks with almost 50%. We did a study and we saw that the big banks like SBI, HDFC and many others have that TD up to 5%. But with this solution, it is expected that the TD technical declines for the banks will get reduced to 0.1%, which will increase the success rate tremendously by almost 85% for all of the banks. The third major stakeholder for NPCI from which we create the solution or bank itself. So for the banks, we see that since we are dreaming for 1 billion UPI transactions a day, banks will have to increase their infrastructure. Many big banks have already started doing this, but small banks, we wanted to solve their problems, and that is why with the UPI-led solutions, they made the core banking systems will not get hit for all those transactions which will have the low value payment, like value less than 200. So definitely it will help those banks to reduce their infrastructure maintenance cost.
Yeah, and I think I agree to that point, right? Whenever you're making a store payment in a Kirana store, people are very curious and they'll keep on peeping, what's your PIN, what's your PIN? But that's something which is like a indirect user convenience. Even we had not thought of this, but when people come and told us, oh, so that means this will stop people peeping. And that's how, this has become one of the key consumer messaging we're trying to showcase over here.
So I think just it is increasing the security also, risk security part.
Absolutely.
Because you are not entering the UPI PIN for all these small transactions, right?
Absolutely. So like, no need to enter your PIN for small value. Don't show it to anyone. Yeah. But at the same time, I do want to highlight that this is also protected by your app passcode. So nobody can do a light transaction without entering into the app, without entering the passcode. So it's not that anybody can pick up your phone and just start, scanning around everywhere. We've brought in this layer of security as well.
Yeah. So now we will cover the operational elements for the UPI Lite. So as we talked that a maximum payment of rupees 200 will be done. So might be in the coming time we will think for the more amount of the use cases, but for the timing a user will be able to make the payment when the value is less than 200. A maximum top up will be of maximum top up. We don't have any limit. User can do a top up of up to one starting from 1 rupees to 2000, and at a time the maximum balance which can be the UPI wallet will be rupees 2000. And multiple UPI wallets can be created within apps. So for example, if a user have multiple apps like PhonePe, Google Pay and Bheem, and he has a bank account in let's say SBI, so user will be able to create Lite account in each of the apps, but at a time one wallet in one banking app.
Yeah. So I mean, if you've gone through, the approval which RBI has given, to start off with, anything below 200 would be counted in the low value segment, and this usage can be up to 2,000 rupees. I think the third point is very important to know from a consumer experience. Today, you can take one bank account and seamlessly link it across different apps, and it gives you the same balance, the same usage. But with UPI Lite, one balance is unique on an app because it is on device wallet. So the funds are virtually on your device and it will stay on your device but for a specific app. So it's not fungible across different apps. And that's where, the balance will always be on the home screen to make the user aware that this belongs on this specific app only and cannot be, cross-pollinated.
So now we will figure it out that what all the changes banks, apps will have to do to enable the UPI Lite solutions. So we at NPCI, we always aim that the banks and the other apps, PSP should have the minimum development for all the features which we develop. So for example, if we talk about the APIs which we require, so we just have modified the request list keys. So there we have enabled one subtype get Lite, and there is no change in the API, only a new type is introduced for creation of the UPI Lite account. Now in the request pay API from which we make the transactions, we have created 4 purpose code. So apps, the PSPs will have to pass these purpose code 41, 42, 43, 44, 41 for the enablement, 42 for the top up, 43 for the disable of UPI Lite, and 44 for the transactions. So only by understanding these purpose codes, banks can do the reconciliation, and it will save a lot of time and effort for the banks for the reconciliation purpose of the UPI Lite transactions. And then for the request check transactions, we have introduced a subtype like sync. So for example, we might see that you are not getting the updated balance, and in that case, you just trigger this request check in the apps, and you will get the updated balance that what is lying in the UPI Lite account.
Exactly. So as I told you, right, NPCI is becoming a mini core banking solution. So we simplified the architecture by 3 APIs. The first API is to create a bank account or you can say a Lite account with NPCI. So it creates an account number, sends it to your bank. The payment APIs do what a typical, request to an account can be. That is, 1 is, I want to start my account, that is 41. 2 is, I want to add more funds, that's 42. 3 is, okay, I want to shut it down. And the 4th one is for financial transactions. The last one is to sync. So basically between the common library, the funds inside the common library and the auth engine which is maintained at NPCI, if there is any kind of network connection or lag, you can simply sync up on both cases. So we've kept the development and the architecture very simple. Everything resides on the existing APIs, the existing stack. So we've seen banks, I'll be honest with you, 4 banks in this launch had started working 10 days prior to the launch and they're successfully up and running. So this shows the simplicity we've tried to build in for every bank to come in and seamlessly participate, because we have 330 banks. Getting them on to this functionality, we want to make it simpler for them.
So scope for the work that what the banks will have to do. So for the bank will have to open a escrow account where they can manage the funds. So for example, if I do a top up or if I create an account, the bank, my remitter or the issuer bank will have to enter to park that amount in the escrow amount, and that's it. So 4 test cases, a very simple development. Only the issuer bank to open an escrow account, and there they can manage the funds which the user enters in their Lite account. For the apps, so we have updated the CL to the version of 1.8. So the apps will have to integrate version CL 1.8 from where they can show the live balance. So if I did a top up of 2,000, spent a money of 200, so the left 1,800 will be captured in the CL anytime, and this can be done by using the CL version of 1.8. And then for the PSPs, so there are some around 20 to 30 test cases which PSPs will have to undergo, and then they can be very easily onboarded on the UPI Lite solutions.
Yeah, and one important thing to note, right? This solution has no change for merchants and beneficiaries. So while there is some impact, some change management on the bank side, someone on the app, the initiating app side, the merchant's bank and the beneficiary both continue to operate as same. So, as a merchant owner, you'd start seeing improved success rates immediately from the time UPI Lite is made live for a specific bank.
So as we talked that what UPI Lite is having for each of us. So for the user, it is a faster payment, balance on the home screen, and then definitely a security of not entering the UPI PIN in the cases when you are making a transaction of value less than 200. For the merchant, it is going to have improved success rates. So what will happen that you go to a merchant, you start making a small value payment, sometimes remitter bank is not available, or sometimes some TD is high, you are in a very peak time, let's say 7 to 8 p.m. and that's time the transaction doesn't work. But if the value is stored in the CL amount, the transaction will be very much successful, and definitely that will improve the success rates for the merchant transactions. And for the bank, it will help the banks in scaling of the transactions. So the aim which NPCI is having of 1 billion transactions a day, that will Lite solution will definitely help in getting that vision of 1 billion transactions a day. I think we need to create this.
Ever since the National Payment Corporation of India launched UPI for public use in the year 2016, its popularity and usage has been skyrocketing. From 93,000 transactions in August 2016, UPI generated 800 million transactions by March 2019 with a total value of 1,330 billion rupees. The surge continues as today, India's UPI is the best performing real-time ecosystem in the world with nearly 6 billion transactions a month, valued over rupees 10 lakh crore and touching 260 million users. The real success of UPI lies in achieving its mandate of building secure, seamless and interoperable system in India, which is also scalable. In line with its pledge to give its consumers an admirable user experience and to usher the next wave of innovation and growth in digital transactions, NPCI has launched UPI Lite, which will work as an on-device wallet for faster and simpler transactions. This solution leverages NPCI's patented Common Library CL and allows storing of virtual funds on the CL to enable the on-device functionality. The key advantage of UPI Lite is that it can work in an offline environment also, that is, without internet. The next wave of UPI transactions will come from offline payments, which will happen in real time without internet. At times, while making UPI transactions in crowded places, as a healthy practice, we try to conceal our PIN. Especially for such situations, UPI Lite will come with an advantage of tap and pay. No PIN required for small value transactions. UPI Lite will power new use cases which can virtually mirror any balance on the device. This can be extended to credit cards, forex cards, or any underlying account which has value and can be mirrored onto UPI Lite. Overwhelming number of UPI transactions are of small ticket size. Though it is a statement of its everyday utility, regular users face the challenge of overcrowded passbook with UPI transactions. With UPI Lite, consumers can get rid of this problem. The transactions made using UPI Lite will not reflect in the bank passbook, whereas they can be seen at one place in the app that consumers are using. Apart from this, consumer will be able to view UPI Lite balance on homepage. UPI Lite is a solution which will help users to transact without dependency on the bank's infrastructure. This will result in lesser hops and faster transactions for the user. In our endeavor to make India a cashless economy, we pledge to continue our efforts. This time with UPI Lite, NPCI is proud to provide our consumers enhanced user experience and much needed utility features.
So, thanks for that video. But while the video does not do justice, I'll just take 2-4 minutes extra. Of course, tap and pay with the device having balance inside it, and no need for entering a PIN. Tap and pay makes this the next natural progression for going through. What I mean by single leg merchant payment is you could go to a store and they have a device where you tap funds. You saw the 4-party model over there. You don't need to go through all the legs. You just go to NPCI, do the debit, and the payee PSP confirms back saying that, okay, this transaction is done. So you don't utilize the remitter's core banking or the beneficiary's core banking. We're also envisaging that, say today, if you are in India and you have funds in INR, the moment it detects that you've moved to some other country, say Dubai, this currency will change into dirhams automatically, and you can start using this just by tapping around and going anywhere. Authorization services is the next layer where, let's say there is a remote locker somewhere and you want to operate that. So the basis, the authentication which is present in the common library, you can unlock that the locker, pay for the locker rental services, and then close that locker again. Same could be for travel services as well. And the fifth one, which I think is for a larger ecosystem to build on, is how do we say that there is a farmer who has harnessed solar energy and he wants to supply that energy back to the grid. How does he get incentivized where there is no area or there is no network? So the moment he puts the energy or the supply back into the grid, the infrastructure or the person sitting over there can tap him and give him the funds back onto his common library. So it promotes kind of behavior for all your renewable energy and recycled use cases as well. So with that, I'll just take an end to my masterclass. Thank you everyone, and I think we'll take time for maybe 1 or 2 odd questions.
Yes, thank you, Jash and Devesh. And yes, I'm sure people would want to ask some questions. Yes, can we have the mic, please?
I have a quick question. You said that the transactions won't be visible on merchants' accounts when a UPI Lite transaction is done.
So I'm talking about the future use cases. Are you referring to that or a normal?
So when a UPI Lite transaction is done from a consumer to a merchant, it will show in merchant's account.
Yeah, it will show. So in this phase, the debit does not reach to the bank, but the credit part happens as it is, so it will reflect to the merchant in real time. So when you go to make a UPI Lite payment, you scan the QR, the funds do get debited from the UPI Lite, and the merchant gets an instant confirmation as well for that.
Okay. But the one you're saying that it will have no entry of smaller transactions in their passbook.
So that's for the consumer. I am making the debit transaction. It won't come to them. To the merchant, it will. It will appear as is, a detailed statement that you got these 10 transactions, which could include light transactions as well.
But the problem is on the other side. Merchants don't want smaller transaction entries.
Okay, merchants also don't want. Sure. I'll take that as, our next use case as well. But thank you.
Is it okay now? Yeah, better now. So rupees 200 is too less, right? And is there any auto load functionality and that if I end up using 200 rupees, but light?
Yeah, autopay is definitely a part of the construct where say that your funds are, so 200 is the per transaction limit. In the Lite account, Lite balance, you can have up to 2000 for spends. So when it crosses below a certain threshold, autopay will be triggered for these transactions as well to make sure you're always on Lite. Or shall I say the light is always on?
So earlier you mentioned the balance is stored on the device. When somebody is sending me money, like can P2P, can I receive money?
Yes, it's for both P2P, P2M, both cases.
If I receive money from somebody, how does my balance get updated on the mobile?
So, okay, the Lite solution is only for you as a remitter to when you're giving out funds. To the beneficiary, they would receive funds as is. It goes to the core banking, you get a credit, you'll get an SMS as a beneficiary. But to the remitter, this part of ease is coming to the remitter only.
No, so Jash, basically he's asking that how the sender is getting the live balance. So you did a transaction of 50 rupees, so how it came.
Yeah.
So all things are.
So that is on the device itself, right? When you make a transaction, you see that, okay, you had 2000 balance. If you send 50 rupees, it's going to be 1950. That's how you see the updated balance.
Yeah, but if somebody sends me 50 rupees,
That will come to your bank account. So there is no credit coming into Lite. There's only credit to your bank account. Yeah, okay. I got your point. Thanks.
Paytm had a similar feature, I guess. They were also allowing us to put money into the wallet.
Yes. I think I'll take this one as quickly. So Paytm one, you need to KYC the user. Okay. That has its own efforts and challenges. Secondly, depending on the KYC, that person can do a transaction up to X amount or Y amount. So that's the core difference over here. For a bank customer, you're already KYC'd. So there is no challenge and you can quickly come on to Lite with the same level of diligence. Yeah,
Can
next.
we top up this with the RuPay credit card that we are integrating with?
Yes, I was expecting that question, but yeah, that is coming in the future pipeline because with a credit card you can't pay to a person, but with this you can. So we are thinking how do we make two different balance counters for this as well.
Is there
Yeah, you mentioned that when I load money to UPI Lite, so it will be application specific. For example, I open the Google Pay and
yes, it'll
have
be
2000.
specific.
Yeah, when I want to pay to some merchant using the phone pay, that balance is not visible to phone pay?
No, you would have to onboard with your bank account on PhonePe and then you're able to view the bank.
In that case, the wallet in my device is created multiple times?
Yes, there are different containers of wallets created,
So
but
that
it is
means-
app specific.
Okay, I have 4 apps in my mobile. I can create
4 wallets.
4 wallets and 8,000 rupees.
Yes.
Okay. And adding to the question what he asked, that is whenever the transfer money goes from UPI Lite account to a merchant account, the merchant CBS is still involved because
Yes.
the credit goes to his account.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, please, ma'am.
one question? So we often see in UPI transactions that after 10 transactions per day, there is it caps off. So UPI Lite, because it's a small value transaction, is there a cap such as 10 or is it
Yes. So there is no cap to just, because we want users to make, this is a ubiquitous solution for low value payment. So you can tap, 1 rupee 2,000 times for all I care and you'll still be able to go through. That's the seamless experience we want to give on UPI Lite. Yes, sir. Yes, yes. Yes. Yes, sir.
Yes, thanks for the presentation. Very helpful. Just one question. In the future use cases, I was not able to see the vision that we are also going to decouple the remitter side of beneficiary side of it, because the problem is at both ends, right? Like I'm from Amazon Pay, so basically the issue we face is an offline, right? So the customer's bank account is still valid, right? You have HDFC, SBI, where the CBS is not, but on the merchant side, there are a Bank of Mysore where the infrastructure is pretty low, right? Like the success rate on the merchant side is also equally important, right, for end-to-end transactions.
Yeah. So, to answer your question quickly, for the merchant side, we've already solved for this in the existing UPI infrastructure, that if you've processed a debit successfully, the merchant's account is anyways going to get the status, right? Even if there's a timeout or something of that sort, we know his account would eventually be credited. So we've instructed all banks to treat this as a successful transaction, even if the debit is done with. So I think that does solve for like 90% or 99% of the merchant outages which is there. So, and that's helped out. You may want to explore that.
Sure. Thanks.
My money was 2 days later, but the merchant doesn't allow me to go away without payment being done. So I end up paying cash as well as
So there are, okay, this is going away a bit from light, but I'll take that question offline with you separately.
Yeah, so I would like to interrupt in here. I request Jash and Devesh, we have to end it here because we have next
Sure.
session coming up. And everybody, Jash and Devesh is right here, so you can like ask any question in person. They're just here only, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jash and Devesh, for this very important presentation. And I remember what you said, the light is always